This is Andi Purewal, Boxing Social, in association with Betfair, joined by Frank Smith in the immediate aftermath of John Ryder's split decision victory against Danny Jacobs. Frank, straight into it, what did you make of the fight? Was it the right decision?
I thought it was very close. I thought it was a very close fight. I think John started slow in the fight, but came back later. Danny's a very experienced fighter, so he knew how to deal with him. But I thought it could have gone either way. And fair play to John Ryder. It's his opportunity to go in there tonight and move on to those big nights that he's been waiting a long time for. Danny Jacobs, you have to respect him. He came over to London. He didn't need to do that. What he's done in his career, he didn't have to come over to London for this fight. Fair play to him. And both guys ended up being wasn't too entertaining the early part of the fight, but ended up really picking up in the later rounds. And great win for John Ryder.
Where does John go from here?
Some big fights out there for him. Obviously, look, Canelo's holding the belts at 168, so we're going to have to see how that plays out. We've obviously got David Morrell, who's the 168 champion with the WBA regular, so maybe that's a route for him. But let's see how things play out. I think he's going to have a little rest now and then get back out there and we'll get a plan together and make the biggest fight possible for John.
Danny Jacobs, on the other hand, is this retirement? Or?
I don't know. I just went to see him. He seems he's obviously upset, but he feels like he's still got a lot left to give. But whatever decision he makes, he deserves a lot of respect because for what he's done in his career, what he's been through in his life, the people he's faced. So let's see what he chooses to do. Either way, like I say, he deserves respect.
Away from the main event, Felix Cash, Madiev was certainly an entertaining fight. Madiev dropping him twice, and in that last round dropped him and had a point deducted in Felix's case. Just your thoughts on that fight?
I called that fight as my fight of the night. I picked that one earlier. I thought that was a very close fight. I actually thought it could have been a draw, that one, especially with the 10-8 and 10-7, what would have been 10-8 and 10-7 rounds. But fair play to Felix Cash because he went straight back in there after a long period out of the ring in a real fight. And a lot of fighters don't want to do that. A lot of fighters want a warm-up fight and then they go along to there. But he showed a lot of heart tonight, especially after that first round knockdown, to carry on and go through 10 rounds in that fight, which was tough the whole way through. And respect to Madiev as well. He's got some big nights ahead of him because he's an entertaining fighter.
Scott Guanini, it seemed like over social media at least a lot of people maybe felt Guanini possibly had edged it. Great learning fight for Ellie, early on in her career. And it's the experience is key at this point for her. So I didn't actually watch all of the fights. I can't say I scored it myself. I was running about at the time, but good win for Ellie. She wants to move very quickly. Shane believes in her. Shane and everyone in the gym believes in her talents. So our aim is to move her onto a world title as soon as possible. Final one on the card, Johnny Fisher. Maybe not the performance people had expected, but what did you make of it?
I think Johnny Fisher's he's got a lot of pressure on him, hasn't he? Ultimately, if he was just a guy selling 150 tickets, no one would have anything to say. But because he's chief support and he sold 2,500 tickets, people want him to be maybe more than what he already is. He's 5-0 with barely a big amateur record, and he's learning on the job. And he's got some. He was a tough opponent in there tonight. He wasn't getting stopped for anything in there tonight. So the aim for Johnny is to keep him busy. 6-7 fights this year. He had obviously the cut, so we'll have to see how that heals up. But our aim is to get him out as soon as possible. Like I say, keep him busy and keep building that experience.
Haven't asked yet, but how's David Diamante? Obviously, in different MC we saw tonight. So how's David doing?
David's all right. Yeah, no, he's good. He's back. He's going through his rehab, and hopefully we'll see him back in the ring in March.
Perfect. Just away from that, like I say, moving forwards, DiBella's had some strong comments about the Devin Haney proposals. So he said he made an offer over a month ago, firstly to DAZN, because Eddie has nothing to do with George, but made it come across as if he was more involved with him than what he is. And to stage a fight was made off for Haney Kambosos, and then you made a counter offer which was insulting. Just your thoughts?
I think I can't really stand DiBella, to be honest. I think he ultimately, look, we want to make the biggest fights, and the biggest fight is the undisputed fight between Devin Haney and George Kambosos. Really, if he was sensible, we'd all work together and go, right, how can we make this fight happen, and how can we make ultimately the most amount of money possible for our fighters? That's our job to do. Take out everyone's interest Our job is to deliver for our fighters, you know. And I think if DiBella cared about that as much, then these type of fights would happen. But let's see how it plays out, you know. I think George Kambosos wants the Devin Haney fight. I think it's the fight that makes the most sense. We want it, Devin Haney wants it, so we'll see.
I mean, just to say as well, Lou's also said that they've moved beyond that fight now, so I imagine that means that the Haney fight will not happen. Have you had that discussion?
Lou says a lot of things, doesn't he? So let's see.
Finally, a few people have been asking what's happening with Maya Jama. Is she still contracted with DAZN and covering shows, or?
Yeah, look, obviously Maya Jama's got a busy lineup of shows going on. So, you know, I think we've sort of agreed to part ways at this point. But, you know, it was a great working together. She did a great job, and, you know, obviously ultimately down to her schedule. You know, lots going on. She's doing great for herself, and fair play. But we got a great talent team. You know, a great team of people working. We saw tonight. You know, Laura Woods has obviously done an unbelievable job. We had Conor Ben up there tonight with Gabe Rosado. We've got Andi Lee, Mike Costello, Darren Barker, Chris Lloyd. You know, it's a stacked talent team. So, you know, we've got lots to look forward to this year, and we're going to keep building it.
Well, Frank, I appreciate the time now. I'll let you leave now. Thank you for speaking to me in Boxing Social.
No worries. Thanks for coming. Cheers, mate.